Welcome to The Leading Edge, Conversations with Saskatoon's Leaders. Hi, my name is Dave Hagel, and I'm your host. The focus of this show is on leadership. What is it? How does it work? What makes a leader tick? What are some of the challenges that leaders face? What are some of the advantages of being a leader? To explore these questions, I've invited leaders from Saskatoon to participate in this show. They come from a wide variety of backgrounds and professions. Some come from the private, public, and not-for-profit sectors. Others come from the entertainment industry and the sports world. Yet others come from no organization. They have demonstrated leadership in their personal lives. If you're aspiring to be a leader, stay tuned. I hope you'll find the show provoking and interesting and informative. If you're already a leader, we encourage you to watch as well. Hopefully, you'll learn some new tips and techniques that will take your leadership to the next level. Our guest is an entrepreneur and a business owner. He's been in the collision repair industry for more than 30 years, the last 14 as an owner. He currently owns a collision repair shop in Saskatoon. He employs 15 people and has annual sales in excess of $3 million. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the owner of Parr Autobody, Tom Bissonnette. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate being out here.
So you have done something very different with your business, and it's called open book management. Tell us what that is and how does that work?
Well, essentially, we've always had our staff on what we call a straight time salary. A lot of body shops are what they call flat rate or piecework, and we want to engage our straight time employees. So we open the books up. We show them not only what we sell, but how much we make. And we sit down and we teach these people how business works. And we get them to understand that the business needs to make a reasonable profit, and anything above that we're willing to share with the staff. So we meet on a weekly basis. We call them huddles, where we get together in small groups, and each person or each group takes a segment of the financial statement, and we project what we think we're going to do in sales that month. And at the end of the year, if we exceed our budget, everybody gets to benefit financially. And I think they really enjoy the opportunity that they're making decisions on how the business is ran, where we spend our money. It's not just how much you sell, it's how much you spend too. So it's been just a great lot of fun.
So what changes in behaviors have you seen from your staff since you've implemented open book management?
Well, for sure. I mean, everybody is like a little business owner. You know, if we're going to buy a piece of equipment, everybody's in on the decision. And the question comes up invariably, do we really need this? Do we need another person, for example? Do we need this piece of equipment? Because they understand that when we spend money, it also impacts the bottom line, and it impacts their income as well. If we have a good reason why we would buy a piece of equipment or hire another person, and we show it's going to be beneficial for the company, then we move ahead. But we're all in agreement as a team.
So I understand that your employees have really bought in and that they're constantly looking for ways to save money, cut costs, improve productivity.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, in today's market, I mean, we're busy. There's lots on the go, but anybody that's in business knows there's all kinds of things that cost a lot more money than you think they're going to cost. Snowfall last year was a killer. For example, in the month of March, Dave, we had about a $3,900 bill for snow removal. We had a $2,900 bill for natural gas, and we broke a piece in our frame machine for about $3,000. So there's $10,000 off the bottom line just like that. And if we had just gone on the basis of sales, if we hit a certain amount of sales, you'll participate, they would have been disappointed and thought maybe I wasn't telling them the truth if I said, I'm sorry, we had these extra expenses. But when they see the full open book management of it and how things impact on the cost side of things, huge difference, huge difference.
So why did you decide to get into open book management? What was the impetus for it?
Well, I'm getting old. I'm probably about 2 years away from saying, hey, I'd like to go and maybe do something else. And I've been approached by a couple of consolidators to buy my business. But I really care about the people that I work with. And I wanted to give them the opportunity to be a part of the business if they wanted to. So I sat down with my accountant. We put together a plan where we sold 30% of the company to 5 of my staff members. So that was part of it. I wanted them to, be involved in the decision making, but also wanted the buy-in from the rest of the group. Because obviously there's 10 other people that are still employees, but their income is impacted by this decision, and I wanted to make sure that everybody was in the know where the money was going. And I guess I'm selfishly, Dave, I'm looking at getting out at some point in time, and I'm trying to set up my own succession plan.
So you're also protecting your staff in the future, so
Absolutely.
that they're not, if they're bought by another company, they won't end up being thrown into the curbside.
And that's always a possibility, because anybody that's in business knows that sometimes we hire and keep people based on a heart decision, not a head decision. When you get a new entity comes in, a lot of that stuff goes out the window. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity. They could have said no. They could have said, no, we don't want to buy in. But we wanted to give them the opportunity before we went anyplace else.
So how did you learn about open book management?
I actually read the book about 1998 by Jack Stack, and it's called The Great Game of Business. And they actually have a website under that name, Great Game of Business. And I'd been dealing with a consultant that was helping us develop some of the soft skills into my business. And we got a really good team. We got a really good bunch of people working together, a young staff. And we kind of got to a point where we're in that sweet spot. And I asked him, what's next? What do I do? And he's the one that suggested open book management. And I went, yeah, I read that book, a dozen years ago. So we actually flew down to Missouri, and we attended one of their seminars. It's a 3-day seminar, and we met with their staff and their people in their operation. And I was just blown away by, it's like having a whole bunch of little business owners walking around in your business. It was so cool. So we brought them back here for another 3-day session and kicked it off last year in September. It was great.
Now, I know some employers are watching this, and they're probably cringing because they would say, geez, I would never share that information with my employees.
Yep.
That's none of their business.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. I think, number one, from my business, I'm just speaking for me. I believe we could have been more profitable, but we are, like I said, we're straight time, and we do have some people that maybe some other people would not necessarily keep, right? So it was a pretty easy sell for me. Like, we weren't making huge windfall profits at that point. And believe it or not, under this open book management and selling 30% of the business, I'm making more money now than when I owned 100% of it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's liberating. Like, when you get right down to it, you got to educate your people, and you got to get them understand what business is all about. And don't look at me as the guy that's getting the money. Look at the business. The business is entitled to a return on investment. And that business can turn around and then reinvest and buy new equipment or expand or whatever. But the key thing for those people, once they understand that and they do get it, that they know that their efforts can be rewarded if they're all on track and doing the right things. So I don't know. I don't think it's a thing to be embarrassed about, mm-hmm. and I don't think it's a matter of hiding anything. To me, it's liberating.
So what were some of the challenges you encountered in terms of teaching your staff what you call financial literacy?
Well, right off the get-go, when we had our first meeting, Dave, we were sitting there talking about, how much money do you think the business should make? And they said, what do you mean? Well, percentage-wise, for every dollar we sell, how much should the business make? And the response I got back floored me. One guy said, about 30%. And I went, wow. If I was making 30%, I'd probably be embarrassed to have open book management too. And so we ended up doing a budget. And it was just kind of slow, painful walking people through doing a yearly budget in advance, and how much does this cost? How much does this cost? And at the end of the year, there was less than 10% in the kitty. They were floored then. They couldn't believe that. That's it. So guess what? Now we've got a plan. How are we going to raise it? How are we going to lift it up? So that was just tough the first little while, trying to get everybody to understand and realize how financial statements work. We haven't even got to the balance sheet yet. That's this year, so I'm looking forward to that.
So would it safe to say now that you have 15 business people in your business?
Oh, for sure. And that they call me on things like, if I don't have my numbers right on, there's guys that'll call me up and say, where did you get that number from? Tell me where that came from. So it's pretty cool when they are great students of business. And sometimes we think our employees aren't smart enough to go through all the stuff. Guess what? They're interested, they buy in, they're pretty sharp. Yeah. They love it.
Well, I've always maintained that employees are closest to what's going on. They know what's happening in a lot of cases.
Exactly.
And a lot of times as an owner, you're looking at 30,000 feet. You're looking at the big picture, so you don't get to see a lot of the small stuff.
We were talking earlier before we started here, Dave, that a lot of people, and myself included, I work on the business, and we have a tendency to have, like you say, that big overall view. The last few months, as I talked to you earlier, I'm actually working in the parts area, which is right on the front lines, right on the shop floor. And I'm seeing things that I didn't realize, that I'm going, wow, this has got to change, or this could be done better, or man, these people need help here. So yeah, I think with open book management, the feedback and two-way communication is much better.
Okay. So how did you change your leadership style from where you were when you first bought the business to where you are now with open book management?
I think leadership is an ongoing process, isn't it? My thing was, it was always easy to get forgiveness and permission, and it was, I was kind of almost like a bully. I would just do things. But as you grow older and as you start to get people to buy in, I think you start looking at managing people and your resources, and you want people to willingly come with you and build the business. So from my end of it, when I look at, say, something like open book management, you're right, it was a bit of a risk to expose, your entire financial thing. But on the other hand, the rewards have been far better and far exceeded my expectations. And I don't feel like I'm the only guy now that cares. I don't feel like I'm the guy that has to do everything and watch everything. I've got 14 people watching my back, because it's their back too.
Mm-hmm. So they've really bought in.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, great. So what are the qualities that you think a good leader needs to have?
I was thinking about that when we talked earlier, Dave, and you know what? I think you got to be open to change. You got to love change. I think that you have to have a great work ethic. I just had this discussion with my kids the other day. We were just discussing, what does it take to succeed? I got a daughter that just graduated from marketing. And I says, you know what? I think you've got to give everything you've got, your best effort. You got to set the example. If you're going to be the leader, you got to be the one that's out there working side by side with them. And I've had that opportunity, especially these last 2 months. And I think you need to be positive. It's hard sometimes to stay that way, but people are watching your every move. And if you're not on top of your game and being positive, people will pick up on that. So, and it's tough. I'll be honest with you, Dave, I'm not always like that. When you go through change and stuff like that, there's always challenges. It's how you deal with it and your work ethic, I think, that makes a difference. So.
Okay. You're watching The Leading Edge, Conversations with Saskatoon's Leaders. My guest is Tom Bissonnette from Parr Autobody. We'll be back in a couple moments.